Welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way, you will not only support our podcast, but will help people to learn more about the Russian war in Ukraine. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 202 days, Ukraine defends itself against the Russian invasion. The International Working Group on Security Guarantees for Ukraine, under co-chairing by head of the President's Office Andriy Yermak and former NATO Secretary-General Anders Fogh Rasmussen, presented the concept of its work yesterday, reports European Pravda. The document, called Kyiv Security Compact, will be a framework for the security system that will guarantee Ukraine's independence. The group of guarantor states may consist of the US, UK, Canada, Poland, Italy, Germany, France, Australia, Turkey, as well as the countries of Northern Europe and the Baltic states, Central and Eastern Europe. On top of this joint document, it is expected that Ukraine will sign a bilateral agreement with every guarantor with details on how they will help Ukraine in case of an attack. The compact doesn't prevent Ukraine from joining NATO, nor does it have China or Russia among the potential guarantors of Ukraine's security, as it was discussed back in spring. The working group now plans to present the concept abroad. President Volodymyr Zelensky in his evening video address said that Ukraine is working to ensure that the strongest subjects of the free world become guarantors of its security. He stressed that it should be prescribed in detail who, how and when should react in case of any threat to the state security of Ukraine. React with sanctions, arms supply, all the necessary material and financial support. The Ukrainian government approved a draft of the state budget for 2023, reports Ekonomichna Pravda. About a half of all state expenditures will be allocated to defense and security. Own revenues of the budget amount to 1.28 trillion hryvnias, expenditures 2.57 trillion hryvnias. The deficit is set at more than $3 billion per month, or 20% of GDP. Now the draft will be sent to the parliament for approval. At the same time, the National Bank of Ukraine expects Ukraine's GDP to grow by 4.6% in 2023, inflation to be about 30%. It is also expected that the average salary in Ukraine will be 18.5 thousand hryvnia, while the hryvnia exchange rate will fluctuate at the level of 42 hryvnias per dollar. This way, the average salary at next year's exchange rate will be around $440 per month. In his evening video address, President Volodymyr Zelensky informed that as of now, stabilization measures have been completed in the liberated districts with a total area of more than 4,000 square kilometers. Stabilization continues in the liberated territory of approximately the same size. Remnants of occupiers and sabotage groups are being detected, collaborators are being detained, and full security is being restored. Prior, Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar informed that Ukrainian forces have liberated and secured over 300 settlements in the Kharkiv region. The overall number of liberated settlements is higher. The General Staff of Ukraine informs that the enemy continues to focus its efforts on attempts to fully occupy the Donetsk region, hold the captured territories, and disrupt the active actions of Ukrainian troops, reports Union. According to the intelligence, the Russian army suffers significant losses every day and tries to compensate them in different ways. The military leadership continues to search for those willing to fight among prisoners, in particular in the colonies in the Tula region of Russia. Recruiters promise convicts to have their criminal records cleared in exchange for 3 months of service. For those convicted for particularly serious crimes, the term of service will be 6 months. However, no official contracts are signed with them. Forced mobilization continues in the occupied areas of Ukraine. For example, in the city of Gorlivka, local military and police are tasked to recruit 6,000 people by September 19th. They search and arrest men in the city, which in turn causes mass dissatisfaction among local residents. The US President Joe Biden, commenting on the successful offensive of the Ukrainian army, said that Ukrainians have made significant progress, but there is still a long way to go, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The US National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby announced a new defense aid package for Ukraine, reports Ukrinform. He didn't provide any details on what the package may include, but assured that more will be known in the next few days. Kirby emphasized that the armed forces of Ukraine use the provided weapons effectively in counter-offensive operations as well as in defense. He also called the successes in the counter-offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the northeast and south of Ukraine a turning point. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said that Germany does not give a single rational argument why it is impossible to provide Ukraine with Leopard tanks and modern infantry fighting vehicles, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the minister, the German government gives only abstract fears and excuses. He noted that such signals from Germany are disappointing. Earlier, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, answering the question on providing Western combat tanks to Ukraine, pointed out that Germany cannot act on its own in this matter. Also, the expectations of the supply of German tanks to Ukraine were dispelled by Secretary General of the Social Democratic Party of Germany. According to the German media ARD, local arms company Rheinmetall repaired 16 modern infantry fighting vehicles for the armed forces of Ukraine at its own expense. But the company cannot start deliveries due to the lack of an export license from the government, reports Militarny. It is noted that Rheinmetall has already begun repairing another 14 modern infantry fighting vehicles. In total, if necessary, another 70 infantry vehicles from old stocks can be repaired. The World Bank plans to create new trust funds at the request of Ukraine for $17 billion needed for urgent recovery, reports Interfax Ukraine. According to the alternate executive director for Ukraine at the World Bank, Roman Kachur, fundraising has already begun. Kachur recalled that on September 9th, the World Bank and the European Commission presented a report prepared jointly with the UN and the government of Ukraine, according to which direct losses inflicted by Russia from the beginning of the war to June 1st amount to about $100 billion, economic losses $250 billion, and funds to restore destroyed until June 1st about $350 billion. Of this, the World Bank has set $105 billion as funds needed over the next 18 to 36 months, but given that this is an unsustainable amount for either donors or the government of Ukraine has prioritized $17 billion. The International Monetary Fund opened an opportunity for Ukraine to receive another $1.4 billion under the Rapid Financing Instrument, reports TSN UA. The President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the IMF for this decision. The funding is expected to be approved within a month. We would really appreciate if you could support us on our Patreon. Even $5 a month will help us to continue our work and present to you the latest news from Ukraine. As a token of our gratitude for your support, you will get access to a series of exclusive episodes on wartime life in Ukraine. From this series, you will learn how ordinary Ukrainians live in times of invasion, what they eat, how they travel, celebrate, what music they listen to, and much more. To subscribe to our Patreon, follow the link in the description to this episode. Thank you. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.